Hi, welcome to Old School Blues Guitar. It is time for another electric blues instrumental lesson. Haven't done one of these for a while, and I had a request for some T-Bone Walker stuff, so I thought let's take a look at one of his greatest instrumentals, which includes many of his signature licks and ideas, plus some really unique stuff. The tune is called Strolling with Bones, and it's in the key of B flat. Well, I'm going to turn on my amplifier. In the key of B flat. So most of the licks that we're going to use are going to be based around the first position blues box over the first position bar chord. So think about between the 6th and the 8th frets, right in there. And the song starts out with a little horn introduction, and there's many points in the song where there's like the horn breaks and stop times and all that stuff. And what I'm going to do is try to go through each verse one at a time, and to the best of my ability show you note to note, note for note what he's playing. In some places I can't really hear it, and I'll show you what I think he's doing or give you an idea of what I think he's doing. And it's not so much, again, to learn this song note for note and play it exactly like he did. That's hard to do. But instead, to pull out some ideas, to see, what T-Bone Walker did, how he did it, and then show yourself some possibilities, some ideas that you can use with your own playing. And that's why I like to study all this old blues stuff, because I get lots of ideas, and I try to make that part of my playing in my way. So let's start out. And he starts out with a little introduction using a 9th chord like this. And you got the horns going. So he's using a F9. So second position 9th chord. I'll have this on the tab if you don't know it. First finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Second finger's on the F. 8th fret of the 5th string, and then my ring finger is flattened out on the 8th fret, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string. And he does this. And so I'm sliding, which would be an F sharp 9th, and then back to the F9. So one more time for the introduction. And then the song kicks in with this horn lick. And then the first lick that T-Bone Walker plays goes like this. That's the first lick, and I'll just have to kind of break this down one lick at a time. So one more time. And this is a real basic T-Bone Walker idea. So he's starting on the 8th fret of the 2nd, 3rd string. He's going to bend up just a little bit. I'm using my 2nd finger on the 7th fret to help it, and I've got my 1st finger on the 6th fret, 1st and 2nd string. So the first part of that, I'm just picking bend with the 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. Then I'm going 9, 6 on the 2nd string, and then I'm going to bend the 3rd string twice and then bend it and kind of choke it off. So that bend, I've got my 1st finger anchored on the 6th fret of the 3rd string, and then I'm going to bend up on the 8th fret, and I'm going to use my 2nd finger in there in between. I call these 3-finger bends. So the whole lick. So he's going to bend, let it down a little bit, 6th fret of the 3rd string, and then that little chop, choked off bend. So one more time, that first lick from Strolling with Bones. And that is the first lick that he does. Now the second idea, we're going through the first verse of the song here, including the introduction. And he does something like this. And that, I'm not sure exactly what he's playing. I'm pretty darn close, and I'll show you where I'm confused. He starts out just going from the 6th to the 8th fret on the 3rd string. He does this twice. Whoops, one more time. And then it sounds like he goes into that bend again. So that's the same lick that we used in the first lick. And then he's going to bend. This is a T-Bone Walker bend on the 8th fret of the 1st string. And I think he comes down on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So he goes from the 8th fret bend to the 6th fret of the 1st string. and then it sounds like the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then something like this. So he's going to go from the 9th fret, 8th fret, 6th fret on the 2nd string, to the 8th fret of the 3rd string. And another typical T-Bone Walker, 6th to 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then 6th fret 2nd string, 6th fret 1st string. So that's what I hear. So it's something like this all together. Again, when he does this, it could be there going to the 6th fret, or it could be going to the 8th fret, 9th fret. I don't think it's that. I think it's either the 8th fret or the 6th fret. So after the bend, let me do that again. That's what I hear. But all these ideas are just going to show you some different things you can do in that first position blues box if you're playing a T-Bone Walker type thing. And he does something like this. And he does a little bend. That's how he wraps it up. So he does like this. So it's 6th fret, 8th fret on the 2nd string, 6th fret of the 1st string, and a little bend up on the 9th fret of the 1st string. And he goes from the 9th fret of the 1st string to the 6th fret, then the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And I think I hear a little hop in there. I call that a hop, where he's going to bend up on the 3rd string at the 8th fret, and then get the 6th fret of the 2nd string. That's a basic T-Bone Walker lick. We're going to get into those here in a little bit. So I'm hearing something like this. And then he does this. And so I'm starting on the 6th fret of the 3rd string to the 7th fret, to the 6th fret of the 2nd string, 6th fret of the 1st string, and then I'm going 9th fret, 8th fret, 6th fret of the 2nd string, and then I'm going to do a little bend on the 9th fret, 9th fret of the 1st string, and wind up on the 6th fret. So that whole lick, something like that. And that's how he wraps up the verse. So in the first verse, let me see if I can memorize this and play it all the way through. So the song starts out like this. And the horns come in. That's not exactly right, and the timing's not exactly right, but that's close. And that's where he ends up the first verse. So in that first verse, we've got the chord, and we've got a lot of typical T-Bone Walker type stuff. And these licks, that's a lot of Charlie Christian I hear in that. And if you listen, I think T-Bone Walker and Charlie Christian were both at one point studying with the same guitar teacher, and there's a lot in common. Charlie Christian takes us the more jazzy direction, and T-Bone, of course, created this wonderful blues style of playing on the single strings. So there's the first verse of Strolling with Bones. I've got tab for this, and we'll come back in a moment and we'll try to tackle verse number 2. Blues guitar, we are going through the instrumental Strolling with Bones by the great T-Bone Walker, and we're ready for the second verse, and we're just kind of plowing through this, taking a look at each lick one at a time and learning some things that T-Bone Walker did. And if you want to play this instrumental note for note, I'm trying my best to figure these things out, but more importantly, I'm trying to show you just some general T-Bone Walker ideas that you can pick up and put into your own playing. So the start of the second verse, he's going to start out with this lick on the 3rd string. So it goes like that. That's the first lick. So I'm starting, it sounds like he's starting on the 8th fret of the 4th string. and then going to the 6th fret of the 3rd string, and then bending. Kind of letting it go, bending up again without picking. See how I did that? Only picking right there and then letting it go. So the first lick, and he comes back with this. And it's the same notes, but he's going to go from the 8th fret, then he's going to go 6, 8, wind 6, 8, 6, and wind up back on the 8th fret of the 4th string. So like that. And that's the first lick that he uses to start off the second verse. So he starts out. And he's doing that. So he's going. And then he's going to climb into this. So I'm starting from the 8th fret of the 4th string to the 6th fret of the 3rd string. And I'm going to that bend where I'm bending up on the 3rd string, 8th fret, to the 6th fret of the 2nd string. Doing that bend. So the whole thing, let's go from that. And he's going to do this bend on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So he's going bending up and then down, 8, 6 on the 2nd string, 8, 6 on the 3rd string, and winds it back on the 8th fret of the 4th string. So that whole lick, let's take it from the beginning of the verse. And I missed the last note, so let me do that again. There we go. So from there, got a jazzy lick, and he does something like this. And I think he does it 3 times. I'm trying to remember. The timing works out. So what I'm doing is, I think he starts on the 8th fret. He could just be going 6, 8, something like that. So you'll have to listen and see what you think. But I'm thinking he's starting from the 8th fret of the 4th string and doing this. So he's going 8th fret of the 4th string, 6, 8 on the 3rd string. And just does it 3 times. And he does this. So this time from 8th fret of the 4th string, 6th fret of the 3rd string, 8th fret of the 3rd string, 9th fret. Back. That whole thing. So you got this. And that, to me, sounds like what he's doing in there. And another idea, so if you're playing the T-Bone Walker stuff, and you go right into another lick, which is what he does here in a minute. This is what we have in the second verse. I'm going to try to play it through real slow. Then he does something like this. And that's how he wraps it up. So after he does this, he does something like this. That's what I'm hearing there. So let's go back and try to figure it out. So from here, and it sounds like this. That little lick. So it sounds like maybe from the 6th fret of the 3rd string to the 7th fret. So like that. So the 2nd and 1st string of the 6th fret. 9, 8, 6 on the 2nd string. And then he's going to go to the 8th fret of the 1st string, to the 6th fret, to the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And then this bend, so he's going to bend up on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then kind of let it back down. And then the third string. Just the 8th and 6th frets of the 3rd string, 8th fret of the 4th string. So it's like this. Then he wraps it up. You can check the tab for that since we've already done that leg. Wrapping up with the 8th to the 6th fret of the 1st string. So let me walk back through that entire verse again, see if I can play it slowly. I think I'm real close, note for note, not exactly, but this is what I'm getting. Timing, I messed up the timing. I think when he comes out of this, a little better there, but that's the idea. And again, notice how everything is right there in the first position blues box. He finds all kinds of ways to come up with different licks. You know, it would be easy to play the same lick over and over again, but he doesn't do that. He comes up with a lot of variations. So that is the second verse of Strolling with Bones. You can check my tab to try to get things exactly right, and if I lost you with my lesson there. Be back in a minute with the third verse of T-Bone Walker's Strolling with Bones. And it starts out with the horns playing, and there's like a stop time, and then it picks up on the 4. And T-Bone Walker comes in with this lick. That's the first lick that he plays into his part. So he's bending up on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then going back 8-6 on the 2nd string. So it's 8-6 on the 3rd string. 1, 2, 3 on the 8th fret of the 4th string, and then a little push up on the 6th fret of the 3rd string. At least that's what I'm hearing. So the whole lick. We're going to take it to that point. So he starts out with this, then he does it again. So he's going to go 8-6 on the 2nd string, 8th fret of the 3rd string. So he's going 6-7 on the 3rd string, and then winding up on the 8th fret of the 1st string. Check the tab for this. And then he's going to go into this. So I'm going 6, 9, and then he does it 3 times on the 1st string. Or is it 4 times? And then on the 2nd string, same thing. So it's 6, 8, 6, 8, 6, 8. So it's 3 times, and we'll take it to that point. So the whole lick there so far, we got. And we'll take it from there. Is this? And I think he does. So it's. So it's 6th fret of the 2nd string, 8th fret of the 3rd string, 6, 7 on the 3rd string, and he winds up on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. So, and then he does something like this. really hear what he's doing. It sounds. And he's doing that. So I'm going from the 6th to the 7th fret on the 3rd string, 6, 8 on the 2nd string, and then 6 on the 1st string, 8 on the 2nd string, and then 8, 6 on the 1st string. Or is he going to the 9th fret of the 2nd string? Can't hear it. It just doesn't sound right. I'll listen to it over and over again and try to get it right on the tab. So let's see if we can play all the way through that 3rd verse. So they got stop time, the horns play over the 1, stop time, and then on the 4. And I got the rhythm wrong. That last part, it's kind of got this little bouncy feel to it. Like that. So trying to memorize the song and play it exactly the same way, that's hard for me to do. So I think I got the licks right. So let's try it again just to see if we can do it. And I missed something in there. Something like that on that last lick. I just not hearing that right now. So there's the 3rd verse of T-Bone Walker's Strolling with Bone. Walker's Strolling with Bones, and he starts it out like this. Something very close to that. And that first lick, he's doing one of these, what I call hops, and he's either bending at the 8th fret of the 3rd string and then getting the 6th fret of the 2nd string, or he's sliding from the 8th fret of the 3rd string to the 10th fret and then getting that. So it's, or it's one of those two. You can try either one or both. I'm not sure which one he did on this song. So we'll start out with that lick, and then he's going to go into one of these. So I'm doing a bend on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then going back to the 8th fret, 6th fret of the 2nd string, and then 8, 6 on the 3rd string to the 8th fret of the 4th string. So it's like this. And that last lick, he's going to go from the 8th fret of the 3rd string, bend up twice on the 8th fret, back to the 6th fret, and then end it on another bend. So it's like this. So it's like that. So let's try that one more time from the beginning. That's the first lick of the 4th verse. And then he's going to go into this. And this is another typical T-Bone Walker lick. I've got my pinky getting the 9th fret of the 1st string, and I'm keeping my 1st finger anchored at the 6th fret on the 1st and 2nd strings. And I'm picking, so it's 9, 6 on the 1st string, 6 2nd string. And I'm just playing it 9, I think it's 8 or 9 times fast. And he goes into another lick. So that this lick here, that's the next part, and I'll show you what he does next here in a minute. This lick, and then he does this. So let's go through all that. So here, he's going to go to this lick. 9, 8, 6 on the second string. And then we're going to bend up on the 8th fret of the 3rd string. And then go 6, 6 on the 2nd string, 1st string. And then we're going to bend on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. 8, 6 on the 2nd string after the bend. And then 6, 8 again, getting the 6th fret of the 1st string. So it's like this. And then he's going to bend on the 8th fret of the 2nd string to the 6th fret of the 2nd string with a hop. Bend up on the 3rd string like we've done before. So it's in this part, 8th fret of the 3rd string, 6, 7 on the 3rd string, winding up on the 8th fret of the 4th string. So the whole thing out of this, and then he's going to do this. Another typical T-Bone Walker. And you can check the tab on that. So let's go through and see if we can do that whole verse. I don't know if I can or not, but I'm going to give it a shot. Close. If not in the right timing, it's got the right licks in it for the most part. But those little, hearing exactly what he's playing in there is kind of tough, but if you figure out some of these, then you'll have some options, so you're not just playing the same licks over and over again. Be back with the 5th verse. I'm going to start out with this hop. And do that. The first one he does, it sounds to me like in this part of the song, he's definitely sliding from the 8th to the 10th fret with the 3rd string. And the first time he does it, he's going to slide and get the 6th fret of the 2nd string twice. And then he's just going to slide until he comes to that lick. So that first lick, like that, and then so that lick, slight bend on the 8th fret of the 3rd string, 8, 6, 8, 6, and then to the 8th fret of the 4th string. So the whole thing. And then this lick, again, which we've had before. Now I didn't get the timing right, but if you listen to the song, he's playing it over the 4 mostly. So you get the horns, then he comes in on the 4. And you end up with that. Verse number 7, coming up.